And we'll close it up tonight with a college football preview. The big story, of course, is the return of the Big Ten after their slow roll into the season. The banner game of the conference, season number 18, Michigan taking on the Golden Gophers of Minnesota at 7:30 on ABC. Other big matchups, NC State versus North Carolina, Iowa State taking on number 6 Oklahoma State, and number 9 Cincinnati versus SMU. So, Drink, we got all the relevant conferences going finally. What are you looking forward to the most tomorrow?
Yeah. Welcome back, the last leg of big boy football. That's right, Pac-12. You know where I'm going with this. So the Big Ten come back into the fold. It was the last guy to the party that we was waiting on. Last guy to the party that the College Football Playoff Committee was waiting on. And let's see, I would say this. I think it's kind of, odd that the Big Ten gets this premier game on ABC at 7:30, being that they haven't played one game yet. So I'm very interested to see that Michigan and Minnesota. But as I look at the rest of these games, you got the battle of North Carolina there, NC State and North Carolina. I'm telling you right now, I don't know if both of these teams would be ranked if we really had a full, fledged college football one. I don't know. I'm not impressed with what I've seen out of North Carolina or NC State at this point, but somebody got to get ranked. There we go. Then you got Iowa State and Oklahoma State. Listen, let's be real here. The last time Oklahoma State played, I think the NBA championship was still going on in the bubble. I don't know what's up with this team. I felt like they haven't played since it snowed last year. It's been quite a while. I can't wait to see them come out here and, shall I say, knock the rust off and probably lose to Iowa State. I'm taking Iowa State in that game to be exact, because you just can't start playing and then take a 3-4 week hiatus, however long they was gone, and then come back and pick off where you left. The game.
It was 3 weeks. 3 weeks is to the day tomorrow.
Okay.
We played Kansas.
Okay. Yeah, I was just talking to Greasy. Thanks, but listen. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Not in the game of football. You can't just be taking 3 weeks off. I got it, coronavirus. I know I'm an asshole for not, it's coronavirus. Got to take it serious. Listen, it is what it is. Don't be surprised if you get your boots smoked by Iowa State there tomorrow. Then you can come holler at your boy. One game I am intrigued with, but it's coming on at 9 Eastern Standard. I don't know. It's kind of late for your boy when you're talking about two teams that are not Titans in the game. Oh, Cincinnati and SMU. This seems to be the game that for the group of 5 supremacy, I should say, the team that's gonna tote the water for those conferences outside of UCF, I guess. But listen, I'm interested in seeing that game. I just wish it came on a little earlier. It is what it is. And then, like I said, Michigan and Minnesota. Let me just say this. When will Jim Harbaugh win a marquee game at a marquee time? I just feel like if he goes in here and PJ Fleck rolls the boat and beats Michigan, at some point, when do the boosters ask for a return on their investment? Because he kind of been, his stock's been really, really low. He need to go get some financial advice from somebody else if I'm the boosters over there at Michigan, because you ain't been getting much money back on your dividends here. So I think this almost, if I had to say, Minnesota playing with house money and Michigan needs to win this game. They really do. Minnesota can lose this game because we haven't yet put Minnesota on that pinnacle where it's they're a powerhouse. Minnesota's not a blue blood. They're not. It's a lot riding on this for Michigan, because at some point, when do Michigan really give Ohio State a push? Can we get somebody there, big blue nation, the house, The house is what we've been betting on you and losing. That's what the house is. So how about we get something now, Jim Harbaugh? How about you do more than wear your supremely starched khakis with your goggles and get us a win? You know what I'm saying? And for Minnesota, like I said, they playing with house money. We got Tanner Morgan and Rashard Bateman and all those guys coming to probably, put on the show. But I don't even know why I just got on the Michigan so bad, but I'm just tired of Jim Harbaugh here flopping around writing bad checks. His checks bouncing all over the place. He needs to come on with it. He needs to bring something behind this. And I think Michigan is in a must-win situation. I will be tuning in. And that's my take on college football tomorrow.
Yeah, really, to me, it's all about the Big Ten. We've lamented the SEC kind of carrying the water for college football with, the Big 12. We look at teams like Oklahoma and Texas and like just how they've seemingly just fallen off. And I'm not even gonna bring up the Pac-12 right now, but they seem to have taken the Big 12 seems to have taken the place of the Pac-12. And then we know the ACC. It's tough to kind of judge some of the secondary teams outside of Clemson. We do have Notre Dame kind of giving them a boost, but you still don't kind of know, like you said, about the teams. NC State, North Carolina, Virginia Tech. I mean, there's a lot of teams ACC has ranked, and you just wonder about them without the full slate of Power 5 teams. But then on to the Big Ten, and I do agree. When you look at the slate, Michigan and Minnesota really does stand out. It is the only ranked game that the Big Ten will have. You look at the other upper echelon contenders. Ohio State has Nebraska, Penn State, Indiana, Wisconsin, Illinois. So I think it'd be a really big surprise if either one of those teams lost this weekend. But Minnesota, Michigan, and I would say, although I do absolutely see your point on why that game you would think is critical for Michigan because of Jim Harbaugh, and not only because of this. We know the struggles against Ohio State. I mean, they've been real documented. He hasn't beat them yet, so that would seem to be something that he'd want to make a priority. But even so, against the other teams that are consistently challengers in the Big Ten, your Wisconsins, Penn States, even Michigan State is capable of giving them trouble. Michigan has trouble with those teams too. It's not one of those cases where they come out there and they're successful against everybody except Ohio State, and that's just the team they can't. It's not like they're knocking on the door constantly and they just can't get by Ohio State. They have trouble, period, with the upper echelon teams. I mean, I think last year was it when they played Wisconsin and they got absolutely steamrolled. I think it was 35-6. Maybe it wasn't even competitive, and we were wondering about his job security then. So this is a very big game for Michigan right off the bat to get a quality win. It's also an opportunity. I mean, if Michigan wins that game, it's going to be the best win in the Big Ten this week. And on the flip side, I would also argue for Minnesota, this game's important for them too, because although they're absolutely not a blue blood, they're not at least right now. You don't think of them among the Penn States and the Wisconsins, and certainly not up against Ohio State. But that's what PJ Fleck wants to get this program. And I think he's going to come out with him and his team are going to come out with a lot to prove. I think they'll play with an edge, and they win this game. They can set a tone and say, look, last year wasn't a fluke. We're for real, and we're going to be here contending for years to come. And, hey, Wisconsin, you don't have the Big Ten West on lockdown anymore. You got to remember the Big Ten West, I think, is kind of the league that's kind of a little bit less competitive. I mean, Wisconsin seemingly they kind of run that, even though, I mean, every now and again you get a little Kirk Ferentz challenge in there. But seemingly most years it is Wisconsin. So I think that's a very compelling game. I'm interested to see it. But other than that, I think you might not think of it this way, but Cincinnati and SMU, I mean, you got a top 10 team in the group of 5. If they can pull that one off, that's a quality win for them. And, I mean, who knows? And, I mean, it's 2020. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with the playoffs or anything. We got to pay attention. I mean, Cincinnati or SMU, they could be one of those teams that, we just don't know what's going to happen come with the committee and all the reduced scheduling for teams for conferences starting late like the Big Ten and the Pac-12. So we just don't know. It could get very interesting, and the committee is going to have a lot on their hands come Selection Sunday.
Yeah, that's a good point. The playoff this year is going to be very interesting. But if you already look at the schedules as far as your conferences go, I mean, the ACC has two undefeated teams left. It's Notre Dame and Clemson. They play each other, and I think we all would imagine Clemson's probably going to beat their brakes off. So you're going to have the usual Clemson invite. Alabama is pretty much only the only undefeated team in the SEC left. So if you get that invite, and then you would think a second SEC team would probably get in, depending on what Georgia and Florida manage to do and the championships and all that from there. But it feels like those last two spots, now that Oklahoma and Texas have decided to just, punt on the season, that there could be a spot open for a team like a Cincinnati or an SMU. I mean, more so than I think other years where we've seen UCF and some other teams like that, make some noise and, oh, what about us? What about us? And then they go to New Year's Six Bowl and get smoked, and that's the end of that. But I think that if there was ever a year where you might see that happen, it could be this one. I think that if you look at the Big Ten, of course, getting underway this weekend, I'm interested really in Ohio State, because I know that Ohio State is kind of being churched up as the third leg of our big three of Alabama and Clemson, and Ohio State being maybe that one seed, their 1A and 1B. But, I always caution that when you get a coach in this third year like he is, you're not playing with the other guys anymore. I mean, Ryan Day is pretty much – you still got Justin Fields, obviously, but we're moving further away from Urban Meyer. We're getting more to, okay, what have you brought to the team? We know he's recruited well, but – it's different when you've picked up a team that's already really good versus, okay, now your dudes are here. How are they going to look? So this is really, I think, that make or break year. We're going to figure out if he's a guy that's going to keep Ohio State contending for 5 years or more, or if they're going to kind of maybe slip and fall a little bit. We know that second level of the Big Ten with teams like Penn State and maybe some point Michigan, and even your Wisconsin's, they're lurking right there. I mean, they're right there in the review mirror. They're very close. So Ohio State doesn't have to fall from grace completely, but, they really have got a challenge for them. And I'm also interested to see if Nebraska is going to do anything. I mean, we're talking about year 3 of Scott Frost as well, if I'm not mistaken. And that experiment has not gone like they thought it would. So maybe that'll turn around. The rest of the games, there's some that could have been good. Obviously, Alabama, Tennessee is going to get some love, but Tennessee has kind of killed any real fun. You would
that quarterback, quarterbacking over there, that killed the love. That quarterback situation is terrible.
And really, it's funny too that the Iowa State Oklahoma State game that could decide the Big 10, or I'm sorry, the Big 12. I mean, Oklahoma State at number 6, they're carrying the water now. But Iowa State, if they win that, they're going to shoot up. And if they go undefeated, I mean, if one of these teams can go undefeated, they could win the whole conference, and they could go to the playoffs. So that's maybe a bigger game than we might think it is. But overall, yeah, it's good to see this huge schedule back. There's only one game that's canceled right now because of COVID. So I mean, it's a full load. I mean, you're talking about starting tomorrow, tonight really, and going all the way through Saturday night. There's a lot of games on, and it looks like we're all systems go now, which is really good to see.